Hey, what's going on, guys? Right now I am enjoying some coffee, hanging out in the gym while my girls are watching the new Super Mario Brothers. So I am on dad duty for the week, this is why it's my fourth cup of coffee today. So my wife is on vacation with a friend of hers, so I am here, caffeinated, ready to help you guys out with some training. Um, Something my girls have been, and it's only day two. I've got 5 more days to go. So, something my girls have been saying recently that I thought would be helpful to you guys is my youngest daughter. So I've got 2 daughters, 8 and 4. My 4-year-old will inevitably, I'm sure this video is going to get interrupted any minute because they're going to start wrestling with each other and somebody's going to hit someone and they'll come out here and tell me all about it and all this stuff, right? So here's what will happen is my 4-year-old will tackle my oldest daughter, and my oldest daughter will come out here and cry about getting hit and all this stuff. And anyway, what my youngest daughter will say is she'll go, "I didn't mean to." And here's what I'm trying to get across to her. You did mean to, but you didn't understand the implications of what would happen. So I think that happens a lot when it comes to training is people will say, well, I didn't mean to do XYZ. When in fact, they meant to. They made the conscious decision. They just didn't understand, what the long-term effects were of putting XYZ in their training program. All right. So I'll give you a couple practical examples here. So I'll have people who will, not from my instruction, because when I sit down with folks, I make sure to clarify and think through things before we just arbitrarily throw in exercises. But people will pick out an exercise and they'll just decide to max out on it. Well, here's the problem. If you go in and just pick an exercise and you don't have a lot of experience and you max out on something, you're just asking for an injury, number one. Number two, it's going to drain you so much from a neurological standpoint that you're not going to be able to come back and train. So somebody will say, well, I didn't mean to knock myself down that much. That's exactly right. They didn't mean to do that. They didn't understand that when you go in and max out, that it is very draining and you may not feel like doing anything for the next day or 2 days. So then we have to dial back the frequency. So what I like to suggest to folks is something called the FIT principle. Is one of the first things I learned about. So the FIT principle is just frequency, intensity, time, type. Okay? So the thing I like to adjust first for most people is going to be the frequency, not necessarily the intensity, not even the time, but the type of training that you're doing is going to dictate how frequent you can do it. And then, what's the intensity of that type? Okay, so as an example, if I perform max effort work, that's the type, but then it is going to naturally decrease the frequency by which I can do it because the intensity is up so much. And then the time to recover or the time before you can do another one of those sessions is going to take a long time. So rather than just jump into the intensity game, let's get the frequency adjusted first. So example from this morning. I was down at the fire station working with local fire department here, and one of the gals that I was training, she had not gotten the gym for a while because she was not happy with where her current fitness was. And we were joking around about the irony of that. Like you don't go get in shape first and then come to the gym. You come to the gym to get in shape, right? But that's pretty common actually, is people will say that of they're not happy with where they are from a fitness standpoint, so they'll go do something else or plan to do something else, and then they don't want to be embarrassed when they go in the gym is what it comes down to. So that's the whole point. Is everybody at the gym is trying to work on something. So be encouraged that way. Like everybody's working on their own individual thing, right? But we had a conversation about when you go in the gym, we want to make sure that you're very, very competent at each movement that we're planning to do. We don't even need to change training loads. We don't even need to get into like increasing repetitions or anything like that. It would be better to have a more frequent training cycle to get the body adjusted to training. So her circuit from today, here's exactly what it was. We picked a squat variation. So for her, it was Bulgarian split squats. We did 5 reps on each one. So Bulgarian split squats, a straight bar deadlift with 65 pounds, dumbbell overhead press, dumbbell upright row. Let's see, what else did we have in there? And then we had TRX rows, and then a suitcase march. So that was it. So those are the movements that we picked out, and she's going to stick with that for the next 6 weeks. And gradually, she just did 1 round for today. That's it. So gradually what she's going to do is she's going to increase the frequency within that 7-day microcycle, and she's going to worry about setting up the exact same sets, reps, load, all that stuff. She's going to try to do it twice per week next week, and then gradually 3 times per week. And it can be spaced out. It doesn't all have to be in subsequent days, but eventually she'll get to a point where she's doing all 7 days. And then what we'll do after that is we'll decrease the frequency and we'll add a little bit of volume. So maybe she goes from doing 1 set every day of each one of those movements to 2 sets, but she does it 6 times a week. And then maybe 3 sets, and we decrease it to 5 times per week. But we slowly introduce this volume, and we slowly will start to increase the intensity once she becomes very competent and the movements become second nature. A lot of people will basically flip it completely and make a big mistake where they'll, guys are especially the worst with this, where they will just like dial up the intensity and then they'll fuck themselves up and get hurt. And then you can't train if you're hurt, right? So you need to be thoughtful and really evaluate and pan out just a little bit so you can see what is it exactly you're trying to get out of training. Why are you spending time in the gym? Why are you spending time making correct nutrition choices? Because if you're doing all these things, the last thing you want to do is get hurt and then start getting pissed because now you're hurt and you can't train and. So look at what you're doing. Ask yourself, does it make sense? And maybe you reach out to some folks who have a little bit more experience and ask them their thoughts. Reach out to, some other guys, some other gals that have some training experience, that have gotten results of where you want to be, and ask them what they did from a standpoint of training, and get some other eyes on it. Because sometimes when you're so caught up in doing your own thing, you may not see the holes that exist within your own training. So anyway, hope that helps out. If you guys have questions, email me anytime at travis@dynamichp.net. Have a good day.